All right, so this is another different video. I'm not I don't typically do anything like this. This is outside of my comfort zone, but I'm trying new stuff. I promised you guys I would try new stuff. I promised myself I would try new stuff just to get away from like the norm, of sitting behind a computer screen and looking at a PowerPoint presentation and communicating what's going on in the Pokemon card market. And while I love doing that stuff, owning a card store has really always been my passion. It's always been something I've talked about this before on the channel since I was a little kid. This is always something that I've loved, something that I've really wanted to do, and it's not easy. Like we've talked so many times about the grind and everything like that. So this is very different. For those of you who don't know, this upcoming weekend is the Indianapolis regional tournament for Pokemon. So there's going to be a giant Pokemon card regional event, probably the biggest regional event that has ever existed. And what happens is you get thousands of competitive players who show up at the Greater Indianapolis Convention Center to play the trading card game, to play Pokemon Go, to play Pokemon VGC, Scarlet and Violet. And it's going to be a ton of fun. And if you've never been to a regional event, I highly recommend going to it. And I understand, we've talked about this so many times in the past, I understand how overwhelming it is because even if you're somebody who's just kind of casually played the game or you don't really have a whole lot of interest, you don't know it's a ton of fun. And you can go to these events as a spectator, you can go as a competitive player. I remember going to my first regional event in Madison, Wisconsin. I was very nervous. I had been to like a state event before. I had been to a lot of local challenges, leagues, cities, things like that, but never a regional scale. And I felt like I was just going to get destroyed. I was going to be completely overmatched. I felt like I didn't fit in. And I went there, and by like the second or third round, everybody was just so nice and so friendly. And I met some of the most amazing people, the best friends that I will ever meet my entire life. I just fell in love with the card game more and more. I fell in love with the metagame and theorying and all these different things that go into trying to build a competitive deck and tweaking things to try and offset the meta. But I knew that I wasn't going to be able to play at competitive Pokemon card events my entire life. Like, even though there's a lot of really good players who travel around to every regional event and every international event and the world championships, and then they coach, and that's kind of what they do to make a living. I'm not good enough. Like, I'm not good enough to do anything like that. And I always wanted to stay a part of these major Pokemon card events because I love them so much. So as I started learning more and more about running a card store and started understanding things more, I started applying to be a vendor at these events. And it's not easy to get in, and there's only a handful of vendors really that get to do these events, but they're so much fun. And I kind of wanted to record a video over the past couple weeks, now that we're closing in on the Indianapolis regional event where we will have a vending booth. It really gets down to the nitty gritty, trying to get everything done, trying to make decisions about what to bring, because it's so different than a normal card show. If you've ever vended a card show in the past, so whether it be a Collecticon or a card party, for example, or even just a backyard card show that happens at a hotel, a lot of times you're going to focus on the collectible card game. You're going to focus on the Pokemon collectible card game, right? You're going to bring slabs. You're going to bring maybe some older sealed product. You're going to bring a lot of vintage cards, because that's really what the collectible market kind of caters to, right? A lot of alternate arts and things like that. But when you vend something like this and you have thousands of competitive players, it is a completely different ball game. You want fun stuff. You want stuff that's going to set you apart, but you also want stuff that's going to drive people to your booth. The competition is very, very harsh because there is a limited amount of vendor space, but the booths are really big, and you want to do something that's going to separate you from the 6, 7, 8 other card vendors that are going to be there. And you also have additional niches of the hobby that people are going to be focusing on, because you do have 1,000 video game players who are going to be there, and a bunch of Pokemon Go players who are going to be there, and a bunch of spectators who just come in to watch and have fun. They have this big streaming area set up where the Pokemon Company International actually flies out casters, and they put it out on Twitch and on YouTube, and you can watch the event unfold. You can watch it this weekend if you want on Twitch or on YouTube. It's going to start on Saturday and go on Sunday, and then you crown a champion of what will probably be the biggest Pokemon card regional event ever. But right before an event happens, right before we have a regional event, like, everything gets destroyed. Everything gets completely messed up because I'm so busy pulling inventory, making decisions, pricing things out. That's kind of what I wanted to go through and kind of show you everything. The costumes are not part of it. I just like wearing costumes. No, I'm just kidding. Those are my daughters. Those are not mine. But I took a bunch of stuff out of storage to try and figure out what price points I wanted to put on stuff and what stuff I wanted to bring. So we have a bunch of booster packs behind me. And there's certain booster packs that I want to bring along. But when you talk about the competitive competitive niche. Right now, you are only looking at a certain amount of sets that are in competitive standard. So this event is going to be a standard event. You're going to want to focus on sets from Brilliant Stars on. Anything before that, so even Evolving Skies, even Chilling Rain, those are not competitive cards anymore, except for maybe like there might be a one of in like the GLC format. Nobody plays expanded right now, so really just the standard events, like that's all you really want to be, which is going to be cards from Brilliant Stars on all the way out throughout everything in Scarlet and Violet. The other thing is, right now we are kind of in the middle of set releases. So we recently had Temporal Forces come out, but it's been a few weeks, and now we don't have another new set release for another few weeks. So we're kind of in the middle of things. A lot of times it works out really well when you have a regional event that happens, opening weekend of a brand new set or the weekend after a brand new set, because there's always going to be a lot of demand. Since that demand isn't there and a lot of players already have cards that they need for the event, you want to figure out stuff that might be a new meta as we move forward, something that maybe people are going to want for their Dragapult deck or their Greninja deck. So stuff that you may not normally bring along, or you want to figure out something that maybe you've never thought of before that's going to be completely different. So I'm just going to flip you guys around and we're going to go through some things. You can kind of ignore the mess. But so here are booster packs that I'm currently just kind of pricing out. And we talked about these before. So we have a bunch of just Dragon's Exalted packs, Plasma Freeze, Boundaries Cross. So I figured I would bring, hopefully you guys can see okay. I'm recording this obviously on my phone using like a lapel mic, and I don't know how to use this stuff very well. But we've got a bunch of random packs over here. I'm going to go around on the other side, actually. So there's Evolutions packs. There's Ancient Origins. Looks like we've got some Breakpoint packs, Primal Clash. So there's a bunch of different Forbidden Light. There's Team Up. You always want to have something. So I like to have something in the booth that kind of draws people in, and nothing that you expect to sell. Like I don't expect to sell a base set booster box or a Neo Genesis booster box, but at the same time, it's something that people might, just kind of talk about, something that's a little bit different for them. So that kind of draws people in. But we've got a bunch of older packs there. I thought it would be kind of cool to have like an entire display case that's filled with just older packs that people can kind of look at just to kind of feature the collector market. Then I've got a bunch of graded cards over here. These don't sell very well at events, but they could be fun just for people to look through. So I figured we would have a case that's there for that. And then we've got a bunch of cards, a bunch of singles. I did plan on bringing fanny packs. We've got, I think I made up like 100 of these. So these will have the actual, let me set my mic down and hopefully you guys can still hear me. Sorry if this quality could just be absolutely garbage. But I do have the actual like packs inside these. So it's not just the merch, but it's also the actual fanny pack itself. And then we've got a bunch of random stuff over here. So these are all the singles that I'm currently working on placing right now. This is just like a metal tray. If you don't have something like this to kind of sort through bulk and stuff, like this is a little bit higher of a quality, but this is actually a really nice tray where you can separate stuff and sort bulk and things like that. I personally really love writing the price tags out. Somebody had commented the other day like, hey Fanny, you're good enough now where you don't need to handwrite price tags. I actually do like handwriting price tags because it helps me understand the meta a lot more. It helps me understand the pricing a lot more of cards, so that way when somebody comes up, the great thing about these events is that your main focus is going to be to buy stuff. Like you really want to buy as much as you possibly can, not just sell stuff, because you're able to buy inventory, buy singles, things like that. And I want to be able to know the prices off the top of my head. I don't want to sit there and look up stuff on TCG Player, look up stuff on eBay for prices for everything. I just like knowing that stuff. So writing stuff down, writing prices down, like as I'm writing down Iron Hands prices and Giratina prices, then I know right away what I can pay for those cards, so I'm not wasting anybody's time when they come up to the booth right away. But then I do have a lot of stuff that's already priced out. So these cards right here, I wanted to have a couple of cases, and I talked about this before with the short, but I wanted to have a bunch of stuff that was going to be older era stuff. So we've got like Umbreon GX from Sun and Moon. We've got Flareon GX right there. There's a Blastoise EX right there. There's Glaceon GX, Gardevoir GX. So a lot of this stuff is actually very playable stuff. Lugia EX is right there. We've got a bunch of Tropical Beaches, which are actually, very, very expensive, but very playable. We've got a bunch of colorless Mega Rayquazas over here. I think you can see that. But if somebody wants, so I love building old decks. Hypnotoxic Laser right there. So if somebody likes building older decks, kind of like I do, they'll have tons of different options, tons of different cards that they can kind of choose from. Primal Groudon's over here. Same thing over here. We've got Jolteon, look at that, Jolteon EX from back in the day. Team Aqua's Manectric. I've got a bunch of Defenders over here, a bunch of Dual Balls over here, Plus Powers, Warp Points, Professor Oak's New Theory, just a bunch of really old stuff. Time Space Distortion, Flareon Gold Star, Rayquaza Gold Star, a bunch of really older cards. And then I've also got a bunch of gold cards. We recorded a short going over all of these when I bought them recently, but it's just nice to have some different cards that might, like I said, draw some additional attention and things like that. So those are all at least priced, but I'm way behind on a lot of other stuff. So over in this kind of like, I guess, half full 4 row here, this is all just staples that we're going to bring along. And there's a bunch of Buddy Buddy Poffins, Earthen Vessels, Switch Carts, Jet Energies, Pokestops, things that are used in decks right now. Mist Energies, Super Rods, Float Stones, just a bunch of stuff that is used in decks right now. And it's nice to have that stuff out because a lot of players are constantly building new decks and asking about this stuff. And they might want, they might not like their deck anymore. They might want to build a new deck for the Sunday or, the GLC event or a League Cup or something like that. They might see something that they really like at the event, a deck that they're not used to playing. And they're like, whoa, somebody brought, this Scovillain deck, and I really want to play Scovillain, so I'm going to go play Scovillain. And then I've got this entire 3-row right here. This is mostly just like standard format cards, or even a little bit older than that, but a lot of stuff from Scarlet and Violet, Sword and Shield that are just lower rarity stuff. So a bunch of stuff that's like there's a Baby Shiny Ditto V, and here's a Crabominable V, and you've got Whimsicott V and Teleon VMAX. So not necessarily stuff that's in rotation right now, Machamp VMAX, but just a bunch of stuff that's, $2, $3, $4 cards that need to be priced out. A bunch of full art trainers over here, like Brock's Grid. Over here is a Gardenia, Gym Trainer, stuff like that. That kind of stuff just really like fills up the cases and gets stuff ready for cases. Then over here I've got a bunch of coins and sleeves and things like that. And then I just have to figure out, like, as far as booster packs go, what I all want to bring. We do typically 3 for $10 at an event for a lot of sets, unless it's like a specialty set, like Scarlet and Violet 151. And then I do have all the seal product that's already basically priced. So a lot of stuff, like a lot of ETBs, a lot of booster boxes, things like that. Unfortunately, it's going to be mostly Scarlet and Violet era booster boxes because we don't have a whole lot of Sword and Shield booster boxes ready. They're pretty much all gone from distribution. So a lot of that stuff isn't going to be able to come along. So a lot of stuff that we're going to be focusing on is going to be pack sales. And then we also have a bunch of plush because that stuff does really well from the video game standpoint, and also from Pokemon Go. I completely forgot that I have a microphone. I wasn't even using it. I don't even know if you guys can hear any of this. Hopefully, I'm so bad at this. Hopefully it's working. But bring all that stuff along to kind of cater towards, different crowds and things like that. And we have our shelving, we have our signage and everything like that. That's going to look really nice. And I'll be able to post, images of it on Instagram. And like I said, I promised I would go live on Friday before the event starts, so that way everybody can see how it kind of all comes together. But beforehand, in the couple of weeks beforehand, it all becomes a giant mess because you really don't know. We've talked about this before. The Pokemon card market is so cyclical. It constantly goes up and down and up and down. If I would have priced cards, 2-3 weeks ago, there could have been stuff that I overpriced, because Temporal Forces just came out, and there would have been stuff that was more expensive, and then I would need to go through it all again and underprice it again because it fell in price, or stuff that might have been cheaper in price that has now gotten more expensive in price. So it's trying to balance everything, but then get everything done in a rush. And while we have, a bunch of seal product that we're bringing in, plush and stuff like that, you also have to be mindful of, we're going to an event that's 6 hours away, where we have to make sure that we can fit everything, that it's going to be easy to set up, easy to tear down, because the event itself starts on Friday, but there's no playing on Friday. Like, there's just some fun events that happen on Friday, but then the booths are open for vending, and then Saturday is the main day of the tournament, Sunday is the second day of the tournament, and then Sunday late afternoon, early evening, you're ripping everything down right away and driving home and hopefully having a good show. But it's a very quick event, it's very short, and it's a lot of fun. So if you've never gone to a regional event, I highly recommend checking it out. But if you've ever wanted to do something like it before, there's a lot that kind of goes into it. And we have, our show inventory that's kind of tucked away in one storage unit, and that's all great because all that stuff is ready to go, but that doesn't impact, you know, all the singles and stuff that you need to figure out, and all the pricing and all the specialty items that you want to bring to kind of set yourself apart. So kind of want to talk about the behind the scenes feel of what it all takes to kind of do a regional event, because it's a lot different. I mean, it's just so much different than vending, you know, a collecticon or a different event, because you're focusing more on competitive players and things like that. So I appreciate you guys taking the time to watch. I hope this didn't turn out to be a disaster. Maybe it did, but we'll see. I really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for taking the time to click. If you did enjoy the content, please consider hitting that subscribe button down below. Leave a like, leave a comment. It goes a long way for the algorithm, but most importantly, I love you guys. Thank you so much just for watching. I'll talk to you again tomorrow. Until next time, peace.